settle the alternating order. First opening on the incumbent.
Where's my PC from? Zach and Maya, right? Zachary.
We're live.
What's that? We're good? All right, here you go. Here's the back.
Figure out how to reset my phone to where it doesn't time out every 5 seconds. That's fine. I think it's on the pretty limited, like it times out pretty quick. We're live.
Good evening and welcome everyone for being here tonight. We have an exciting night this evening. We're going to start off here in a few minutes with House Representative District 60 for Rio Rancho. It's the Republican Forum. And then followed at 6 o'clock sharp will be the Gubernatorial Forum. We have all 5 candidates confirmed. So we're excited about that. So we're going to go ahead and get started with District 60. So once again, good evening, welcome everyone. This is a forum event. I'm Jerry Shallow, President and CEO of the Rio Rancho Regional Chamber. A forum is a little bit different than a debate. This is a conversation. We will ask the questions that we received from chamber members and input. All the questions will be directed towards the audience, not between each other. That's the big difference between a forum and a debate. So from that standpoint, we're going to review how we're going to do this function tonight. So the candidates participating this evening are currently qualified for the primary ballot based on the Secretary of State's candidate portal. Additional opportunities will be presented if any other candidates do join the qualifications by the Secretary of State office at a later point. Once again, this is not a debate. This is an opportunity to hear directly from each of the candidates, their vision, their priorities, and their ideas for moving New Mexico forward. Our goal is thoughtful dialogue that helps inform your decision. Tonight, we're excited to have you all here. Welcome. Our incumbent is Joshua Hernandez, and our challenger, let's go with challenger, right, is Zachary Anaya. Welcome. Give him a round of applause. Today's questions, we'll start out with an opening for 1 minute, and Representative Hernandez, you will open.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you to the Chamber for putting this on. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. I'm Joshua Hernandez. I'm a partner, a father, a small business owner, and I've been state rep in District 60 for the last 6 years. I have focused heavily on economic development. We have gotten high-wage jobs passed till 2036. Saving thousands of $60,000 a year plus jobs. I lowered the liquor licenses from $300,000 to $2,500, and we got 125 new licenses across the state in the first year, including Turtle Mountain, right down the street, who Nico says this has just completely changed his business. I'm the ranking member on House Commerce and Economic Development, and the longest serving member on House Tax, and I hope to earn your vote tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Anaya?
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Zach Anaya, and I am running for New Mexico House District 60 on the June 2nd Republican primary. I want to thank the Rio Rancho Chamber of Commerce as well as Representative Hernandez for being here this evening. A little bit about me. I was born and raised here in New Mexico. I am raising my family here, and I am running because I am tired of watching our state rank dead last in education, struggle with rising crime, and lose good people who just can't take it anymore. The slogan for our campaign is Stay, Build, Thrive, because that's what I want for every single family in this state. I am not a career politician. I am a dad, a business owner, and someone with deep roots in New Mexico. District 60 deserves a fighter in Santa Fe. My allegiance is to my family, my neighbors, and my community. I am focused on school choice and accountability, reining in runaway state spending, and supporting law enforcement. I look forward to a productive conversation this evening.
Sounds great. All right, so our very first question is a 90-second question, and it is around education. So in New Mexico, only 20% of students completing grade level 3 can read at grade level. What bills would you sponsor to get New Mexico out of the 50th position in education, particularly turning it around in grades 3?
I thank you for the question. I had a very productive conversation with the Associated Federation, the Teachers Union. They endorsed me. They're great people. But the conversation was built around the amount of funding that goes to the Department of Education in the state of New Mexico. The first bill that I would sponsor, which more than likely would be killed by the left in Santa Fe, would be to eliminate the Department of Education. The funding for our students should go directly to our students. And during that conversation, we were able to come to an agreement on school choice. The union and a Republican coming to an agreement when it comes to school choice. Our teachers are facing an epidemic of large classrooms. Some classrooms have 40, 50 students. If we allow school choice and we allow our students to go into charter schools, trade schools, which you have been a huge advocate for, and I appreciate that, and private schools, then we alleviate the pressure on our teachers and test scores will rise. Essentially what I'm saying is eliminate the Department of Education and work your way up.
Thank you. Mr. Hernandez?
Thank you for the question. I agree. Funding is a problem. We have one of the lowest funding rates of any state in the nation. I think that we need to really look at curriculum. Having 11-year-old twins is something that we face often. Is how do we keep them engaged? How do we get them to care what's in front of them and how to learn? They do it, but it's a fight every single day. School choice. School choice is great. We need to figure out how to do it without decimating communities for those students that don't have the parent that is willing to drive them to a charter school every morning, something that we do every single morning. Charter schools are fantastic. We need to stop trying to limit the amount of charter schools that are in the state of New Mexico, especially Albuquerque. I'm sure at some point it will come up here. The other portion of that is, I totally lost my train of thought. We will keep it there. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Hernandez. The next question is coming right back to you. It's another 90-second question. New Mexico is often ranked behind Texas, Arizona, and Colorado in business climate. What specific law or regulation would you change to close that gap?
Ooh, that's a good one, and there's so many. First of all, you have wages that are trailing behind. We have so many people that are willing to work here, but they can't afford it, or things like childcare. Why go to work when childcare is still going to be more than I'm going to make? That is a huge thing that keeps coming up. We need to figure out how to get the workforce. Right now, New Mexico has a 58% workforce participation. It's the lowest in the nation. How do we get those people to want to get back into the workforce? There is no one answer. It's going to take 50 bills over the next 10 years to get people to want to get back. And I think one of the things is subsidies and the cliff. How do we make it so that people can still get certain benefits and not fall off the cliff to get nothing? That keeps them at home. And it's just the realistic part of it. We also need higher wage jobs that match with the free schooling that we are already offering here, like it or not, it's here. We need those jobs to be here, and so we have to bring in the businesses that will provide those jobs, because the government's not going to make those jobs. Government departments are 400 or 500 people behind on where they should be. So the government is not the answer. We need to make it easier for all of the businesses. Huge part is also, we need to get rid of GRT and go to a straight sales tax. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nye. The same question.
I didn't think you were going to mention GRT. I was going to just go right at it. We need to eliminate the gross receipts tax in the state of New Mexico. It is a hidden pyramid tax that destroys our small businesses and makes it almost impossible to hire. We also need to eliminate the payroll tax across the state of New Mexico. A flat sales tax will make us competitive with our neighbors like Utah and Colorado and Texas and Arizona. But that is just one small part of the problem. Representative Hernandez is absolutely correct. The crime in this state is absolutely out of control. Businesses do not want to come here. We do not have a well-educated base. Businesses do not want to come here. We have rampant crime. Businesses do not want to come here. But it starts with making it more affordable to bring those businesses into Rio Rancho and into the state of New Mexico. It's very simple. Make it affordable, make it safe, and make the workforce educated, and you're able to accomplish the goals that you want to. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nye. A question coming right back at you for up to 90 seconds. Do you believe New Mexico has a regulatory culture problem or a policy problem or both? And what would you do to change things structurally in the state government?
We have both, and we also have a massive spending problem in the state of New Mexico. So many of the regulations across all of our commissions, all of our agencies, never get grandfathered out. They never get sunset out. So we have laws and regulations stacking on top of laws and regulations that make it almost impossible to run a business in this state. Coupling that with the unaffordability, you make it impossible to grow. So how would I effectively change that? We understand that Republicans will more than likely be the minority in the House, and we will be the minority in the Senate going forward. But hopefully we will have a Republican governor that is able to veto some of these absolutely horrendous regulations and have somebody in the House that is fighting day in and day out and educating the voters about exactly what is being passed in Santa Fe. It is absolutely ridiculous. Since 2020, our budget has increased from $7 billion to $11 billion. We are still dead last in education. We are still #1 in violent crime. Obviously, throwing money and throwing rules at these problems are not working. Let businesses thrive.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. 90 seconds.
Absolutely, I agree. It's both. Government needs to get out of the way and let businesses thrive. Let families live their lives. I think smaller government. The reason in New Mexico that we have so many regulations is they're trying to figure out how to pay for everybody and all the departments that they want to bring in. He brought up a great point. Sunset Commission. Texas has one, and actually a lot of states have one, but Texas is the closest one to us. I've been working on talking with people across the aisle, because he's right, I can't do this on my own, because we are such in the minority by 9 seats now, to set up an interim committee, to pass a bill, set up an interim committee that will be a sunset commission to figure out what we still need and what we don't need, what's working, what's not. For 25 years probably, there was never, what we have now of, is this going to work? Or let's do it for 3 years, or, something to that effect. It's gonna be on the books and it'll be there forever. And a lot of that stuff at this point is just detrimental. So I think a sunset committee would be a huge plus for New Mexico. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. Coming back right to you with a 90-second question. So during a lot of the governor or potential governors that are running for office right now, they have mentioned and spoken about tax reform. And of course, to get to the governor's desk, it'll have to go through the representatives and the senators in the legislature. What would you propose to address tax reform in New Mexico? What do you think needs to be changed, Mr. Hernandez?
Thank you for the question. There's a lot. Biggest first thing, I think GRT needs to be replaced with a straight sales tax, something that doesn't pyramid, something that myself and Representative Harper tried in 2023, and still the longest committee meeting I've ever been in, with 3.5 hours of municipalities and counties coming and saying how bad it would be. So we have to overcome that hurdle. It's not impossible. We just have to figure out how it won't hurt municipalities and counties. Because going from one to another, day one to day two, would decimate roads and public safety and everything else for really 3 to 5 years. The other big thing is we need to lower the tax rate on families. We have $60+ billion in sovereign funds right now, second largest fund in the entire world. And we really, instead of trying to figure out how to spend more of it, we really need to be giving some of that savings back to families. Thank you.
Mr. Anaya, 90 seconds.
I adamantly agree. We need to eliminate the gross receipts tax and the income tax in the state of New Mexico, but we have to do it through a phased approach. My solution or my proposal would be simple. We eliminate the income tax on all of our veterans, on all of our first responders, and all of our teachers, and see how the program works going forward. We're able to work out the kinks that way. Secondly, when it comes to property tax in the state of New Mexico, my proposal, actually I think it was the first proposal I put out after I announced that I was running, was to eliminate property tax for anybody over the age of 65 and anybody who has paid off their mortgage within a 30-year period. And that tax break follows you to your next home. I'm a real estate agent. About half my clients are downsizing. Their kids have moved out, their grandkids are across town, but they're terrified to leave their current home because of the massive price of homes and the property taxes that come along with it. If we can eliminate the property taxes for those who have made the decision to stay in this community, I think that we are off to a great footing. But I'm not naive. I don't think we can eliminate taxes overnight. I would if I could, if I was king for a day, but unfortunately, we're not there right now.
Hey, Mr. Anaya, coming right back to you with a 90-second question, and it's around economic development. So would you support legislation to streamline permitting and reduce regulatory barriers for development? And if so, what reforms would you prioritize?
Yes, in a word, yes. And I think Josh has it right on the money. Again, a sunset commission is exactly what we need. There are so many hidden regulations when it comes to permitting sorry, I'm trying to think of everything I do as a real estate agent. It's all come flying back. But there are so many issues that come up during the permitting process that stops people from being able to build, stops people from being able to grow their business, stops people from being able to open their business. So I think the Sunset Commission is absolutely something that we need to do to eliminate some of these regulations and then focus on not putting any more of these regulations on the books.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Permitting is a huge problem with economic development. All the way from, the PRC at one point was taking 48 months to get a project through for PNM or someone else, but PNM was the big one, to try to get them just the approval to put power in a new building. Or somewhere like Mesa del Sol, where they needed a new transformer for a new section. It took them over 50 months to get through the PRC. So a couple years ago, we passed a bill, Senate Bill 170, which I was a co-sponsor on, to make it that if you are in a strategic economic development zone, the PRC could take no longer than 9 months. And now for Castilian, they got it done in 3 months. So it can be done. It was just putting their feet to the fire a little bit. But that's only parts of it. You need to go to the municipal levels, the county levels. It shouldn't take 6, 8, 10 weeks to get someone to come inspect your building. It shouldn't take, 6 months to get a permit to be able to build a new building or put on an addition to a house or, make certain fixes at the strip center down the street. So it's not just one or the other. We need a top-down approach for these fixes for permitting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. Coming right back to you with 90 seconds. This is around housing. Historically, home prices were about 2 to 3 times median household income throughout, starting in the 40s, 50s, and into the 60s. But now that is 5 to 6 times the median income. As a member of the New Mexico House of Representatives, what specific legislation would you support to close that gap?
Thank you for the question. Yeah, housing is a huge issue, and it's not, affordable housing. It's not Section 8, which everybody, for whatever reason, has been talking about this last year. It's obtainable housing. It's something that the two of us can afford to live in. Right now, it is an unreachable goal for most of the people our age, in their 30s, 20s, 30s, to even think about being able to buy a house. At first, it was rental prices, prices. Then it was Zillow coming in and those types of groups coming in and buying all of the available houses. It drove the prices up. Then COVID hit, and it's crazy to see my sister's house right here in Rio Rancho went from $90,000 in 2018. They just sold it for $410,000 in 5 years. And it's crazy to see that. So we've done a few things. There's a fund that we set up, super low interest for the developers, that they can come in and borrow money instead of with the banks at 6 or 7%. We have it under 1% to be able to build those homes. It's a huge thing. None of the developers have jumped on it. That's the hard part. We pass sometimes some really good bills, and getting people to take advantage of them is the hardest part. So thank you. I'm out of time.
Mr. Anaya, the same question, 90 seconds.
Well, again, you're right. 2020 is when things really spiked out of control. But I think you've heard us talk about the gross receipts tax this evening so many times. But I want to explain to you exactly how it works, because it directly affects the cost of housing. When somebody chops down a tree and they transport it to the lumber yard, they get taxed on the transportation, the gas, and the labor to get it there. And then they get taxed again at the lumber yard when they cut it into 2x4 and plywood. And then they get taxed again on the transportation to the builder, and the builder gets taxed on the labor to go to build the house. And that tax is not going to be paid by the builder. It's not going to be paid by anybody at the lumber yard. It's going to be paid by you, the person purchasing the home. If we eliminate the gross receipts tax, we are able to make housing more affordable across the state of New Mexico. How many of you remember 2020 when interest rates dropped down to 2.25%? You were essentially getting free money. We are no longer there, but the price of homes have not come down with the interest rate going higher, which is something that we've never really experienced as a country. So I face this dilemma every single day. But there are programs out there. The MFA, First Time Homebuyer Program, FHA, VA, no down payment. So the dream of home ownership is still attainable, but the state is making it incredibly difficult for you to be able to purchase a home or to be able to pass that home down to your children. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Anaya. Coming right back to you with a 90-second question. And this focuses around public safety. What specific public safety bills would you sponsor or support to reduce violent crime and address repeat offenders?
Well, we need to bring back cash bail in the state of New Mexico, and we need to change the law that was passed either this session or the last that allows non-citizens to become police officers in the state of New Mexico. When we have people who are committing a felony out there trying to police our citizenry, we are going to feel less safe. But at the end of the day, our police officers are doing their job. They are arresting criminals. They are putting them in jail. And then our judges, because of weak laws in this state, which I believe were written with the best intentions at heart. I'm not saying that they were written, insidiously. But these criminals go right back out onto our streets. I believe the statistic is 67% of all felonies are committed by repeat offenders in the state of New Mexico. We know who they are, we know where they are, but we refuse to lock them up. We need to bring back cash bail and have stricter sentencing guidelines for our judges.
Thank you. Mr. Hernandez, same question, 90 seconds.
I agree with a lot of that. One thing I'd like to fix, though, it's not all non-citizens, it's only DACA recipients. It was a huge difference. And I agree, the justice system is the problem at this point. The cops, especially here in Rio Rancho, doing their job, but the judges are handcuffed by the laws that the legislature passed, and the legislature has become, as on the left side, has been reform, not, reform, don't lock them up. Let's figure out how to fix them without it. And what's the first thing that they do? They get out and they reoffend. We have, unfortunately, multiple friends who have had their children, mothers, fathers killed because somebody was out on a non-bail system. We really need to toughen that up, but also with the justice system, we need to get them adequate funding. Parts of the breakdown is that they don't have the money to have enough support staff, to have enough attorneys, so they're not showing up in court to every case because they're piled on top of each other. Or some of our DAs, assistant DAs, I guess I should say, because they're the ones actually in court, are fumbling around with 40 or 50 cases at a time. No one person should have to do 40 or 50 violent crimes at a time. You're just not going to be able to put the time and attention you need to every single one. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. Sticking with public safety, one of the big topics at the legislature has been around juvenile crime. From your standpoint in the legislature, what would you do to bring juvenile crime in line and make it more accountable?
Thank you for the question, and that's a hard one. We're talking about kids, and so the reality is that gangs are using kids because they know that they won't be thrown in jail. We need to get them back into detention of some sort. We need to get them back on to track. The Democrats tried to push a bill 2 years ago now that would have given juvenile offenders up to second-degree murder $2,500 a month until they turn 25, because that was the way to reform. I don't agree with that. We need to get them into lockup. We need to get them the help and hopefully back on the track that they need. They can see the light that there is something else besides crime that their life would be good for. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Anaya. Same question, 90 seconds.
Can you repeat the question, please?
It is around juvenile crime. How would you bring accountability to juvenile crime?
Well, I think we have to distinguish the two differences between normal juvenile crime and violent juvenile crime. We've seen an uptick across the board in both, but at the end of the day, we have to decide where compassion ends and accountability begins. I remember when I was a kid, and if I would do something wrong, my dad would say, you want to talk to me like a man, I will treat you like a man. If you want to commit crime like an adult, if you think you can go rob a convenience store, if you think you can take the life of another student or an adult in the midst of an armed robbery, your life should hang in the balance. You should go to prison for an extended period of time, and that might not seem compassionate, but the problem is with repeat offenders, they start young. It starts with shoplifting, and then it moves on to much more violent crime. I agree 100% in killing the bill that would have given these juvenile offenders stipends until they turn 25. Absolutely atrocious. I believe I was talking to Representative Nicole Chavez. The murderer of her son would have received this stipend when he got out of juvenile detention, and it is absolutely atrocious, and that is what we are fighting against in Santa Fe. That won't be the last time a bill like that comes to a head, and we need somebody that will fight with everything they have to ensure that our community is protected, whether you're a 13-year-old committing crime or a 50-year-old committing crime, it doesn't matter. You need to be held accountable. Right on time.
Thank you, Mr. Anaya. All right, we're going to move on to medical reform, specifically around medical malpractice. So you have 90 seconds for this question. Medical malpractice was reformed in the past legislative session. How do you feel about the past legislation, and are there any changes you would like to see in the existing medical malpractice law?
I think it was an excellent start. Seriously, kudos to you and everybody else that got that passed in Santa Fe. But we are having an incredibly difficult time keeping doctors in the state of New Mexico for all the reasons that we mentioned earlier. Crime, education, cost of living. But they're also terrified to get sued out of their pants by hungry trial lawyers that are looking to get every cent that they can. I think that we have not done enough. But I truly believe that both sides of the aisle are looking to make this change across the state of New Mexico. And I look forward to working with Democrats and Republicans in Santa Fe to ensure that we can make healthcare more affordable and ensure that we're able to keep our doctors here in New Mexico.
Thank you. Mr. Hernandez, same question.
Thank you for the question. Yeah, so House Bill 99, something that I co-sponsored, was a good start. It's not the silver bullet. It's not going to keep every doctor in this state. We need further protections for them. Do I think that if something was done with malice that they should be protected? Absolutely not. But we need more protections. We need to be able to get more medical students. UNM's building was built in the 50s and cannot be upgraded. And I know that we just gave them some money, but there's still a long road. And they can only push out less than 100. I think it's 90 students per year out of that building. How are we going to fill up our pipeline if we can't get UNM and MSU to pump out enough students? The state also needs to give them more resources, less to the insurance companies, more to the doctors. We need a middle ground. We need to stop picking the winners and losers. We need to come into the middle so that both of them can do their job for New Mexico families. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. Next question coming right back to you for 90 seconds. And it's around the population. New Mexico has been flat on population growth for over 20 years now. Rio Rancho is the fastest growing city in the state of New Mexico. But the challenge that we have is the state has experienced a large amount of our younger residents leaving at the age of 19 and not coming back until 34 or 35 years old. What would you do to attract young professionals and families to New Mexico and retain them as well?
I think we've talked about a lot of things that we need to do that would help this situation. You have the grass is greener somewhere else. They're making more money, less taxes, better educations at colleges in other states. There's a lot of things. So crime, number one. Education, we need to not be 50th. We need to make New Mexico appealing for young families again. I don't know anybody that, whether you left here or not, would want to bring your kids back here with nothing to do, no investment, super high house prices, and 50th in education. Why? That doesn't sound fun for a kid. I know because I have two of them. And these are the things that we still talk about. Charter schools are a great thing, but education as a whole needs a lot of work. So there's a lot of things that that need to be done to get those people to come back to New Mexico. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Anaya. The same question.
Well, I lived in Utah for about a year and a half. And my wife and I, when she got pregnant with our son Malik, we were trying to decide on whether we wanted to stay in Utah or if we wanted to come back to New Mexico. And we had the same questions that Representative Hernandez is talking about. Why would we want to come back here when it is so difficult for my business, especially in real estate, when it's so dangerous for us to raise a child and when our education is so far gone compared to our neighbors? But we decided that this is home. We decided that this is the most beautiful place in this country, and I've traveled to every state across this country for my job, and nothing gets more beautiful than the state of New Mexico. But we have an opportunity to make real change across this state, and it starts with safety. It starts with education. It starts with making it more affordable to be here, and that will be an uphill climb. But my wife and I decided that our family here, our parents and our grandparents who are getting older, were far more important than us being comfortable in Utah. So we decided to get uncomfortable. I decided to get uncomfortable in running for this position because our kids' futures, mine, yours, all of yours, are far too important to be left to chance. And sorry, that really gets me going because we almost didn't come back. We really almost didn't come back. And I'm glad that we did because we have a lot of work to do, but I look forward to doing that work.
Thank you. Okay, the next couple questions will be 1 minute only. So the next one is legislator pay was a topic of the last session. Do you agree with paying legislators, or do you think that there's an alternative, or leave it the same?
I don't think we should pay our legislators in Santa Fe. Everybody in that building that voted for it knew exactly what they were getting into when they ran for this position. I know there's no pay as a legislator. You know there's no pay as a legislator. They decided to pay themselves after not raising our test scores, after not improving our public education, and after seeing an increase in violent crime across the state of New Mexico. But again, I'm no fool. I know it's probably going to pass. But that needs to be tied directly to term limits in Santa Fe. The first thing that I signed, and the only pledge that I've signed in this campaign, is to push for term limits both in the State House, the State Senate, and at the federal level. House of Representative members should only serve 3 terms. Senators should only serve 2 terms. You are not there to get rich, you are not there to collect a paycheck, and you're not there to live off the backs of the people that you represent. There are 30-day sessions and 60-day sessions. There is absolutely no reason for somebody who's working in Santa Fe for 30 days a year to make $68,000 a year. And if it does get passed, I'm not sure exactly where we're going to find the funds for that, to be completely honest with you.
Thank you. Mr. Hernandez, 1 minute.
I agree. I don't think that we should be paying legislators in Santa Fe. There is more than just a 30 and a 60 day. There's interims, there's a ton more. But I agree. We have not done what we need to do as the whole to raise test scores, to make it easier to live here, to bring crime down, to do anything that you guys want us to do in overly meaningful fashion. So yeah, I didn't vote for it. I think that we shouldn't be rewarding. I get the pros of it. Yes, we can attract, younger people. We can attract, other people to run besides people who are retired or lawyers. A good chunk of our legislature, unfortunately. But no, I don't agree, and I won't be voting for it whenever it comes up in November. So thank you.
All right, Mr. Hernandez, next question for 1 minute is, if you serve in the minority during the session, what is your strategy to get bills heard in committee and advanced to the floor?
Well, I don't know any other way of serving in session. We've been in the minority since 2018, which was before my day. So the strategies are relationships. It's a huge thing. Republican or not, you have to work across the aisle if you ever want your bill to see the light of day, especially in the 30-day. This last session, I got 4 bills passed. In a 60-day, they're at least going to get heard in one committee, but you might get 5 minutes in that committee. One, it's education, interim committees. You take your bill, you get people on board with it, both sides. That's the start, but it's also the relationships. You walk in day one, you look at the bills that I got passed, and it was very Republican-sided. And as we've gone forward, I've gotten 28 bills passed in my 6 years, which is more than most people in the legislature. And it's by building relationships and getting people to the relationship to get that bill in front of people. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Anaya, same question, 1 minute.
I think that coalition building is absolutely imperative if we want to get anything done in Santa Fe. I think what we say publicly and then what we're able to say to one another behind closed doors or even up here are 2 completely different things. What we need is accountability. So many people have no idea what is in a bill that either they're voting for or the representative is voting for. And my promise to you, and you won't hear me promise a lot in the campaign trail, is that I will bring forth every single bill that I hear in committee and make sure that it's laid out in layman's terms for you as a citizen of District 60. You need to know what we're voting on. You need to know what's happening in Santa Fe, and you need to hear it in language that you understand. You're working, you're living busy lives, you're raising children. My job is to communicate what's happening in Santa Fe directly to you.
Thank you, Mr. Anaya. Okay, we're all done with the questions. That was quick, huh? All right, let's do our closings. Mr. Anaya, you are first for 1 minute.
Well, again, I'd like to thank the Chamber of Commerce and Representative Hernandez for being here this evening. I want to close with something personal. I love New Mexico. I was born here, and I'm raising my children here. I believe with everything in me that the best days for New Mexico are still ahead. but only if we are willing to fight for it. For too long, families in the state have been told to wait. Wait for better schools, wait for safer streets, wait for an economy that actually works for working people. The reason I am running is because I am done waiting. And I hope that you are done waiting too. I'm not running for a title, I'm not running for a career, I'm not running for $68,000 a year, but I'm running because my kids deserve to grow up in a New Mexico that works, and so do yours. I humbly ask for your vote in the primary on June 2nd, and for your vote in the general election in November. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Anaya. Mr. Hernandez.
Thank you. Thank you again to the chamber and for all of you guys for coming out. I'm sure that there's something better you could be doing on a Tuesday night. I think that this election is really going to come down to what we've done for New Mexico. Thank you for coming back, being a productive member of society. In my time in the legislature, I brought almost $14 million home. 138 projects have been touched and funded. You can see it every day when you walk down the street. $4.5 million for public safety, new fire engines, ambulances, 100 police cars probably at this point, motorcycles. But there is a lot more to do. We have, there are so many more jobs that we need in this economy. We need to get our education to stop being at the bottom, and we need to create a state that doesn't chase healthcare workers away. So I humbly ask for your vote on June 2nd, and thank you again for being here.
Thank you. Let's give him a round of applause for being here. Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. Thank you, Mr. Anaya. Okay, so we're going to take about a 15-minute break. We will start off with the gubernatorial forum at 6 o'clock. This next forum with the gubernatorial forum is brought to you by the League of Women Voters and sponsored by the Rio Rancho Regional Chamber of Commerce. And let's give a big round of applause to Rio Rancho Public Schools for allowing us to be here tonight. As well as, let's give a big round of applause to Greencastle Media that is doing the audio tonight, as well as streaming for everyone to hear. Thank you. We'll take a break for 15 minutes.
Shakes t-shirt.
Check, check. Check, check, check.